in this moment of goal setting for next year or your next quarter or half year, there is always, at least I hope it's true for you, someone or something that makes you realize you've been thinking small. And when you start thinking big or bigger, you start doing bigger things. So whatever your goals are in this coming year, try 10xing them. What would it be like if you partnered with someone every quarter this next year and earned by promoting them and they by promoting you, which you're also going to win by filling your courses more? Or you offered something magical together. That's just one way to look at it. I had a friend recently say to me, hey, did you know that in last year, you and I were like the most popular show. She has a show. She doesn't call it a podcast. You and I were the most downloaded and listened to. And it was true the year before too. Whenever we get together, we really hit it out of the park. Do you want to do this next coming year like a regular quarterly trade? Like she would appear on the Flipping 50 podcast quarterly. I would appear on her show and we would kind of lay out, here's what we're talking about each quarter, make it seasonally approachable. And, that way we kind of spread the love. Everybody in her audience needs exercise. And everybody in my audience needs what she has in order for the exercise to help, because it's not a cure for everything. And in order to get the benefit, you've got to have a good gut health, good energy. You've got to have the right foods going in. And she does much more of that. So think of that. Who would be your partner that you could kick up? The love to their audience, they could kick up the love to yours. You both win. You're going to pay them an affiliate fee for promoting for you. And likewise, they will do that for you. And, or maybe you do want to collaborate. I find it's a little bit more challenging to literally go in and collaborate with somebody. And if you are like me, now you may be much more team oriented and always been more collaborative. And it's not that I don't play well with others, but I am super independent and I am like, quick start, like, let's just go and let's do it. And, when you're working with others, you have to go back and forth a little bit more. So the impatience that I have for that quality in me is not as well suited as maybe some of you might be. So think about, what would it be like? Another way to think big here. What would it be like if you bought the house that's for sale next door and created a place for a retreat center, like a magical backyard oasis where you could put a gym, where you could put like an exercise course? That's coming up for thought right now for me, by the way. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to host a wellness retreat, or you're toying with the idea and you're just wondering how and when, there's a lot to unpack. If this is you and I, unpacking together is going to be a lot of fun. I promise this is way more fun than unpacking the end of vacation kind of suitcase stint. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business, where it's a division of my overarching business, Voice for Fitness. And here we believe that you want to be personally an inspirational example to other midlife women. And in order to do that, you and I both need a profitable health and fitness business, because money speaks. Money is power. It gets you in front of things. It gets you able to help more people. It helps you reach more people. And, I understand that a lack of clients or a lack of even income and revenue can put you in a spot where you feel like, I can't. I have the knowledge. I have the hope. I have the goals. I have the ability to help people, but I can't quite get started or get seen. Totally understand. I started over at 49 and I had to put everything that I've been saying about marketing and sales for the last 30 years to the test. Well, I can tell you I went from 0 to 6-figure months. Yeah. And those first couple of years, listen, I I had been earning a very comfortable and healthy mid-six-figure income with zero debt, owned my house outright, owned my car. I mean, no debt. And, I really went backwards. And there were years where I wasn't making six figures for the year. I would have been happy with half that for a couple of years. And it was a scary, rocky time for me, where I'm 49. I'm thinking, in 10, 15 years, I want to, look at life maybe very differently. I wouldn't say retire. I'm actually not even looking forward close to even that retirement. I can't figure why anybody would want to if they love what they're doing. Do it differently, yes, but and paying money to colleges, right, for my son, and looking at, I have a promise and I had a way we wanted to do that, and obviously was doing that with a very active father parent, but I had to pull my load and I was looking at how am I going to do that? So I know what it feels like. So I've got a scorecard for you that I developed based on everything that I knew and learned that I had to have in place. I still use this scorecard for every product, every new service, and going through, is that there, is that there, is that there. You can get started with a business today. You don't have to have all of that list. But tomorrow, if you want to grow that business, if you want to scale that business, those things do need to be there. So I'll put the link to that in the show notes. Let's rock and roll. I'm going to have you start with why you want to host a wellness retreat. What's the reason, you're even asking, how to host a wellness retreat? And there are so many reasons why you would, but you don't want to begin planning that super fun, ambitious retreat before you explore what is my purpose, right? And I know it may seem like, well, it's maybe to make money, but if that's true, you're going to be darn sure that you go through careful planning. Because if you are like me, and serial entrepreneurs often are, you're going to jump in and start selling it and say, what's a good price? And just kind of pull a bunny out of your hat. We cannot do that. Not if you want to make the profit from the retreat, the actual retreat. So some of your purposes could be, number one, make a profit. And yes, please, in every retreat that you offer, you should want to make a profit. I mean, you should cover your expenses and then also have a little more. If I'm going to host a retreat, make a profit, and ideally make this profit doing something that you would enjoy doing. That's your thought process. Spending a week or a weekend, maybe a day, depending on how long your retreat is, with people you enjoy doing activities that you enjoy. Right? So, don't plan a retreat doing things you don't love. That would be number one. You immediately want the profit from the retreat. But how big is that profit level? You might want to ask yourself, is this to take your current members and students deeper into what you do? Is this to give them a flavor of time with you and coaching with you so that they are motivated to spend a year with you or the next 6 months with you doing a program? So lots of ways that you can look at how much profit, right? Number two is you might host a retreat as a live event model that you definitely have to cover your expenses. So again, when you're looking at, what am I going to plan? What am I responsible for? So if you're including a place for them to stay, make sure you look at all the details there. If you're covering their food or certain meals, look at pricing that and how you're going to control for that. So in some cases, we've had dinner at a restaurant, but we provided a limited menu for them. So I actually had that printed out and given. So they had their choice of like a meat or a fish or a vegetarian dish. They had their choice of, a certain dessert, or I don't supply alcohol at mine. And so if somebody wants an alcoholic beverage, they do that. And I do it because it's not brand centric, right? So if we're talking belly fat and women are here because they're worried about it, I'm just feeding their belly fat. Yeah, that's my opinion. But You may or may not agree. I'm totally okay if they want to order it as long as it's not the day before or the night before a really long hike and somebody's at altitude. I will tell them this is not in your best interest to drink tonight. If you want to celebrate the hike tomorrow, that might be it, but it will also impede your recovery. So not also ideal. So I also sell them into something greater. Sometimes there is always that offer made, and that might be a combination of selling them into a training program that occurs prior to the retreat. So I'm actually talking about the 90 days that I spend giving them a training program, maybe meeting them one-on-one prior to give them a good, strong start, have a relationship before they even begin coming in. But they've got to do the training program in order to enjoy the hikes, right? So I do stretch hikes, we call them. These are challenging hikes. This is, meant to be a challenging 3.5-day event. This is not rub my back, do a little pampered spa, do some yoga. No. We do yoga as recovery from the challenging hikes. There's a place for it. Absolutely. And I package it together, but you make it appear as the retreat is actually the test of the training that they want. And it's let's focus on this retreat, but you have to train in order to get there. The conditioning, the strength, the endurance, the whatever it's going to take for them to have a good time at the retreat, even if there wasn't a retreat, but now you're going to allow them to have this real goal. It's the starting line. It's like signing up for a marathon or a 5K. Now you get serious about doing the training that you might have skipped otherwise. So that's one way, but it's a live event model where you're promoting to the next thing. Another purpose is just bringing them together, selling them on what they don't know. And this is really strongly favored for the next thing. So it may be more of a pamper, presentation, and education. You could take them hiking, do yoga, Pilates course, stand-up paddleboarding, horseback riding, or kayaking, and otherwise just keeping them very active. But you're doing it with the opportunity to plant seeds about what they're doing on a deeper level, how it's affecting and impacting their hormones. You make them hungry for more information, more guidance, helping them realize they don't know what they don't know. So when we do certain meals and meal items, I'm actually at the meal where they've got these choices demonstrating. So the things on the menu that you're choosing from are dairy-free and soy-free, gluten-free and wheat-free. Here's why that's important to you right now at this point in your life. And so I want you to pay attention to how's your gut health. If you're doing this, I may provide apple cider vinegar shots before every meal, or apple cider vinegar pills or supplements before every meal, and talk about I want you to pay attention to how you feel in taking these and how your digestion is over the weekend. It may be a combination of the apple cider vinegar pills. It may be a combination of the changes in food, but many of them didn't know this and have an experience feeling that good and not bloated. And so it's a great learning opportunity. And again, it's planting that seed. Here's what you didn't know, right? So create a desire for the next step, because if you're giving this away within the retreat, what else is there? That's what they're going to be asking. You're planting that seed the entire time that you're going to be offering something into somebody in their groups that they're not yet in, and what their testimonials have been, what kind of progress that they have made. So say you have a year-long program, or you have a 6-month program that none of your retreat attendees have yet attended. You want, someone doing a testimonial about that or be able to present that. Even in your welcome kickoff party, there may be a very small hint about previous attendees, what they went on to do. It's very subtle, but people are saying, I want that to be me. Right. So based on feedback from nearly 15 years of hosting retreats of various types, I've learned a few things. So I've hosted retreats for private small groups like sisters who get together. They do a reunion every year, and 8 of them, and they included sister-in-law. So there wasn't that many people in the family, but We did a retreat specifically for them, fitness professional retreats where we follow, some activity with a business retreat. And actually, we're doing an epic one in the Grand Canyon, September of 2024. If you're listening, we're probably even in Black Friday week, still at the lowest rate you're going to see. And the reason we're advertising this right now is, this is training. So it's an 18-mile hike and, it's challenging. So it's essentially like training for a marathon. You don't just on a whim start doing that. So there's got to be a little adaptation that'll help you prepare for the altitude that may be different depending on where you're coming from, preparing for the strength that is finishing up for the last 9 miles in the heat of the day, getting acclimated to that. And the purpose of doing that hike prior to the next day is just the tremendous personal growth that you will experience getting out of your head, out of your routine. You obviously have to, right? You have no cell phone service, so you need to be good company for yourself while you're doing this. And you may or may not be hiking next to somebody else. We will all start together. We will finish and cheer for each other when we finish, but we won't finish together. Everybody will finish on their own time and may have their own difficulties or challenges and mindset stuff going on during. You may end up hiking with somebody, but there's no guarantee that you will. And it's intentionally done like that. But we will have a dinner the night before. We will have some time on the bus together where we all start, and we will have dinner the night of to celebrate, as any marathon or endurance event will occur if you're moving with a group. So it's very similar to that. But the next morning we'll get up, have breakfast, and do a business retreat from 9 to 12, break for lunch together, and then from 1 to 4, and then conclude. And that'll be the end of the retreat. But it's an intensive. And when you are, I hate to say broken down, but when you are raw and ready to really explore, what do I want for my business? You have the entire day to think about, what's life like for me? What do I want it to be like? Because you are in an epic place with surreal light and challenging yourself physically in a way that you can dump some stress and dump, some heavy things maybe that you've been carrying, and just lighten up and think about, what do I want my life to be like on this epic adventure? What do I want the rest of my life to feel like? It's an amazing opportunity. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes. I also host Flipping 50 retreats, and fitness pros are also welcome to come to that. If you are interested in attending either one in Phoenix in February or one in June in Colorado near Boulder, let me know that. So I often will have fitness pros come, operate as Sherpas, and in exchange do some business coaching for you. So in the past, we've done a post-event, half a day together while you're all still here. And that's a possibility, but we could also do one-on-one and do an extended coaching session with you in exchange for you be a part of a pacing group for others during the retreat. So let me know if you're interested in that. Here are the things. Sorry about that. A little cough. But here are the things that I've learned. Number one, you won't please all the people all the time. Einstein, I know, but people don't always read the fine print. So when you prepare them in advance, you tell them, here's what's happening. This will be true. People who've never been in a program or met you might attend. And literally this shocked to me, but in 2019 and 2020, both, I had people that I'd never recognized. They weren't a part of a membership, weren't a part of programs. They just had been maybe listening or following and heard about the retreat and came with a friend. It was super interesting to me. So be prepared to start from the beginning. As you bring people in, they won't already know who you are, what you do, what you're about. Some people want more white space, like time to journal and think about things. So be prepared. They don't like to be rushed, like getting from one place and then going right on to another activity. Be careful. Many, again, don't read the fine print. I know I said that once, but I'm saying it again. Some don't follow the training plan and they aren't prepared to keep up. So really important. We've always promoted these hikes or these retreats as there's lots of hiking. Every day there's lots of hiking, challenging hiking. And then sometimes comments I've gotten back after have said, we could have done other things more than hiking, like there's goat yoga close by. And I'm like, we're not a goat yoga kind of a group. We're challenging. This is an endurance event, an endurance weekend. That's the purpose of it. We're challenging you. This is clearly not your retreat, right? And I'm like, did you not read the activities coming and why? But again, that you have to be prepared. If your brand has a style of eating or nutrition, it doesn't mean attendees will comply or remember they come, some of them not knowing you and what you do. So I've had, I think I had one vegan for sure in this last group, and I'm like, we're not vegan. I don't promote that. I promote animal protein, and usually we always try to have some kind of fish or we'll have poultry. Poultry is a little iffy right now, or meat choices for you. But we don't generally have a vegetarian. I took them to a steakhouse, like a crusty old cowboy steakhouse. And I don't know what she had, to tell you the truth. I'm not quite sure what she did with that. But the right people do always show up. So even my vegan who was eating barcodes the entire time, and gently I had to say, why do you think that veganism is so much more healthy? And if you're doing it with barcodes, like you're standing in a kitchen where there's access to food right now, but you're eating a bar, read the ingredients on that bar. Vegan doesn't equate to healthier necessarily. So let's unpack this a little bit. And if you're losing muscle, you're losing bone density and you're gaining fat, is it working for you? She's tired all the time, right? So that was a real education and you have a choice. You can try to smooth things over or you can say, here's why we don't. And here's why I totally respect that you're making this choice. But you may have that even show up at your event. So now I have learned what needs to appear as copy on the sales page, on the product page. Like, this is a challenge. This is a stretch. This is for apparently healthy people. You're going to need to follow the training program to come. And I also put refund policies. Like, you can have a certain percent of a refund before this date. After that, 50%. And after this date, there's no refund because my costs are the same. We will incur the same cost because after a certain point, I've paid a deposit and I cannot get it back. So it's important. And I put those things also inside of notes. So I want you to determine one thing. Think about, how long do you want your retreat to be? Now, if you're thinking about your first retreat, you can go small. You could do a half day, like a 9 to 12 retreat. I have done a couple of virtual retreats and we did these not just because of the pandemic. I had done one prior to that, but then during the pandemic, I did a couple consecutive Januaries, like the first Saturday in January. And we kicked it off on Wednesday with here's things you want to prepare. Here are the recipes for the smoothies we're going to make. So it was as if we were all having the same smoothie at the break, and here's what I would suggest for the rest of your afternoon. Take your time, take a bath, use Epsom salt, sprinkle some lavender in there so you sleep really well tonight. Think about these books for reading, and so I encouraged them to, here's how the day is going to roll out for you. So you could do a half day. I think we did a 8 a.m. start and we went until maybe 7 a.m. start my time and went till 11. So for people on the East Coast, that was a little bit later, right? So I think it for them was like 9 to 2. And yet, okay, it was still starting in bulk of it in the morning and then finishing before mid-afternoon. But we just went from one thing to the next. So we started with the most intense things. So we did a little strength training, a fairly lengthy workout, and then we would take a little bit of a break. We did then some yoga. We got into some core exercise, did Q&A between each, took a break, had another smoothie, and went into the kitchen, literally made the smoothie together. And these things are kind of all part of what you can do in teachable moments. But you could do a half day, you could do a full day, and you could take a break in between and say, okay, we're going to take and do this on Zoom. You have to make sure you have the ability to do that, but do it on Zoom and say, okay, we're going to, take a break and pause, for 50 minutes, we'll be back here at X, right? Or bio break and we'll be back here at X. You can do all of that. You could do a weekend long one. So you could do, 2 or 3 days in a row. You could do a 3-day. And again, it could be virtual or it could be live. Do you want to host a live, or do you want to host a virtual? So you may be more comfortable doing one or the other. The pros to the virtual, lower expenses, right? And most of us are used to Zoom. And I mean, your attendees, if you're new on the hosting side, get some practice in, right? So host one-on-one with your family members, and just do some easy things with friends and get used to what are the things I need to think about when I have a group of people on here. What are the controls in the back? Pros to doing it live. I mean, there's energy for sure. And when there's people in the room, there's no tech to go wrong. You actually may feel like there's less heat on you because, you don't have a camera on your face the whole time. You're leading people in a trek. And, again, at the start of a hike, we don't all as a group stay together because nobody's going to get the experience that they should if that happens. Somebody's going too fast, somebody's going too slow. So I let people say, okay, here's the route. And people end up being very well matched with each other and end up doing a little bit more walking with one person or two other people who are their speed and accommodate them. And that allows some bonding that otherwise wouldn't happening. So let me know if you're hosting a wellness retreat in 2024 or you want to, and what your other lingering questions are. There is, of course, the question of how much will you charge? I will tell you this, when I've done a virtual retreat, we have included a virtual retreat like that, 7 a.m. in the morning to 11, as a part of Get the Cafe or our Flipping 50 membership, the annual, and as a part of it, you will get the virtual retreat. And then we've also sold it. So people who've done it, then to those people, we've marketed a post-retreat, like, do you want to join us? It's not too late, and it's still been open enrollment for that membership. So if you've got a program where you could upsell them after a retreat, if this is the first time they know. And we made it easy to gift the retreat so that, say, a sister, maybe involved in the cafe, wanted, say, her sister to experience it. And, she's across the country. So gifting it like that. So great ideas. I hope you agree. And even as I'm saying it, talking out loud is helpful. That's just a hint for the value of a mastermind or mentorship. When we're all on together, your wheels get turning when you hear other people asking questions and the responses to those. I hope this was helpful. And what are you waiting for? The world needs us right now more than ever. Women are looking still for community. Even though we're coming back together, a lot of midlife women still feel alone. Show notes will be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/host a wellness retreat. And I'll see you on the flip side.